Hello everyone. Today we learn how to embed screen flow in Lightning component. In the last session we have discussed how to embed screen flow in Lightning page. Please find the last session from the link mentioned in the description. Please subscribe my channel. My channel's name is Easy Coding with Shantanu. Tip for today. We may use Lightning based component for alert notification instead of using alert in LWC.js file. So from now onwards, we can use Lightning alert based component instead of the standard JS alert syntax in LWC.js file. So today's agenda is that how to embed screen flow in Lightning Aura component, how to send input parameters from Lightning Aura component to flow, then we will see how to take output variables from flow to Lightning Aura component, then we will learn how to communicate between Apex class, Aura component and flow, then we will learn about how to resume flow from Lightning Aura component. At last, we will see how to embed screen flow in Lightning Web component with some questionnaires. At the end of the session, we will provide you some exercises so you can complete those exercises and let me know if you will have any difficulty. Now, how to embed screen flow in Lightning Aura component? It's very simple. First, we need to create a screen flow, then we need to create the Lightning Aura component as mentioned in step 1. Step 2, we have to call the flow using Lightning flow tag. So here the component, the tag is Lightning is to flow, and in the controller.js file, we need to call or we need to use the start flow method in where we have to send that the flow API name. So in this way, we can invoke the Lightning flow in Lightning Aura component. After creation of the Aura component, we can use this component into Lightning page or quick action of the specific object. Fine, let's go to the demo directly. So our business use case is simple. The use case is that create contact records by taking the input from the user with the following fields just like first name, last name and email, and associate the contact record with the account. And after contact record creation, please redirect to the contact record. So we have segregated in 4 tasks to achieve this business functionality. First, we need to create screen flow. Second, we need to call or we need to invoke the screen flow in Lightning Aura component. Third, we have to send input parameters from Lightning Aura component to flow. So here, what are the input parameters? Only the record ID. The record ID of the account record from where we want to create the contact record. So from the Aura component, we will send the record ID to flow. At last, we need to get output variables from flow to Lightning Aura component for redirection. So after contact record creation, flow will send the contact record ID to Aura component to redirect the record. Let's go to the demo. Okay. So this is my dev instance. So just like for previous session, we can consider the same navigation. Go to home. Now search flow. Create new flow. Click on new flow and select the screen flow and click on create. Now we will first create the resource or create the input variable. So our input variable is responsible to take the account record ID. So we can give the name as record ID here. text, and please don't forget to check the checkbox available for input. So that checkbox will say that record ID variable is the input variable. As per the best practice, whenever you will declare any variable or any element, whenever you will create any element or whenever you will take any element, please put the description. Done. So I have created the input variable called record ID. Now I will take that get records element. So in that element, basically I want to fetch the respective account record. So the object is the account. Now criteria, I have to select where ID is equal to the respective record ID. This is the input variable containing the account record ID. And we can select the automatically store all fields, or if you are sure which fields you need to extract from the account details, you can select the choose fields and assign variables. So this element actually is needed to show the account name to the user to get to know for which account the respective user or respective customer is going to create the contact record. Okay. Now I will check the contact is present or not. So I'll take that the decision box. So level, let's say check account existence. Let's say found account. So the previous element name is the account from get account. So just remove the dot sign, and here you can select the does not equal to. So this account from get account does not equal to null means you got the account record with respect to the record ID. This is the true path. The false path is that we can rename it, let's say not found account. Done. So Salesforce will create two paths. One is for true, where the account is there. Another path is false, where there is no account. So in that path, where the account is present, we will create or we will take the screen components. So here we can details that get contact details. Now we will select the text field for first name. Then we will select another text field for last name. Now after that we will select that the email type. So we can select email. However, we have that the name component. So if you drag the name component, you will get automatically first name and last name. But there you cannot mark as that the required among of the fields. So let's say here I need to mark the required last name field, because the last name is the required field on the contact record or contact object. So what I will say, I will select the last name and mark it as required. So here the red asterisk is coming there beside the last name. So that's it. Just click on the footer. I don't need the pause button, so you can hide it. And the screen component is done. Now I want to create the contact record. So definitely I need to take the create records element. So here I can write that create contact. Then I need to select the use separate resource and literal values. The object is the contact. Definitely we want to create the contact record. Now the field name is the first name. Then last name. Then email. Here the email, actually you have selected the email component, so that's why you need to select email dot value. And last field is very important to map the account ID, because our requirement is that we have to associate the contact record with respect to the account from where we want to create the contact record. So the account ID is nothing but the record ID, because we are sending the account ID there. Or you can select that the get account element, get account.id, whatever we got the fields from the first element, get account. Now we have taken all the fields. Okay, now it's done. Okay, excellent. So the flow is complete, but as per the best practice, we need to do some activity for the exception. So what we'll do, click on the get account, get records element, and click on the add fault path. Here we need to show that the exception message, let's say get account exception. Then I need to select the display text. You can select that ACC then I need to select global variable as flow, and under flow you will get one option fault message. So this flow.fault message will display the system exception. Now just I need to delete the pause or hide the pause button. That's it. The similar thing, so when system will get any exception during get account operation, system will show that the exception using, or system will show the exception using flow.fault message. The same thing we need to do in the create contact section. So I will do the same thing, click on add fault path. Yes, what I will do here, that is the good feature, just you can copy that thing, copy element, and just paste to this element. Remember, you need to change all the variable names and all the desired components name in that screen flow, in that the particular element. So click on that edit element. So here basically that create contact exception, right? Because we are going to create the contact record in this step. So create contact exception. Okay, done. And here let's say contact error message. Delete this thing. Done. Now you can ask me why that component is needed. That component is not used anywhere, right? So what I told is, for better understandability, we have to show that the account name for which you are going to create the contact record. So in the screen flow, we can display here, let's say account name, and here account name is to, we can select that get account, then name, and you can mark it as bold, or you can select any color whichever you wish. So now it will display the respective account for which you are going to create the contact record. So for that element is needed. Okay, done. So we have completed all the steps in the flow as of now. I'll save it. So okay, now I can name it create contact. Okay, I'll save it. Activate it. Okay, now flow is activated. So our flow is ready. Now what is the next step? Next step is that embed screen flow in Lightning Aura component. So for that we need to create Lightning Aura component. So currently I am in dev console, in developer console. If you wish, you can use the Visual Studio Code to create the respective components or Apex class. So let's assume that I am going to create the component from here. It's a Lightning component. Our component name is, let's say, create contact, and I have selected Lightning record page and Lightning quick action. So when I click on submit button, Salesforce will create the aura definition bundle called create contact, and that component is applicable for record page as well as the quick action. However, I have selected the record page, that's why that option is coming automatically. Force is to hash record ID, that actually will send the current instance record ID into the controller.js. Now what I will do, I will write down that the lightning is to flow is to ID. Let's assume that flow data. Okay, so we need to call the respective init method in controller.js. So for that we need to write aura is to handler, name is equal to, let's say, init value so this is the .cmp file. Now we need to call, or we need to create the init method in controller.js for create contact component. So here what I will do, for flow is equal to component flow find what is our aura ID, so we can pick up the respective lightning flow using DOM traversing. Flow data, then we should write the flow.startFlow method to call the particular flow. So here we need to pass that flow API name. From where we will get the flow API name, just refresh the screen. We have saved the flow using create contact name, right? So just click on view details and version. From here you will see the flow API name. So let's say create contact. Okay, save it. That's it. So what we have done, we have just using, or we have invoked the flow using lightning is to flow tag, and using that the aura ID, we just take that the flow variable, we have declared that the flow variable, and we have called the, or we have invoked the flow using start flow method by passing that the flow API name. Now let's see what is the result. So this component we have created for the contact creation. So this is the account. For now we can add this flow. Basically from the account page we have to create the contact record. So for that, we just, for testing purpose, we can add the component in the account record page. So please open the account record and then just click on edit page by selecting the gear icon or setup icon. So here the component is there, just drag it, save it. Here you can see our first success is that we are able to call the flow from aura component successfully, but the background doesn't look good because the background should be on the card, okay, should be on the lightning card. So for that we just need to call the flow in the div tag. Save it. So we call the flow in SLDS card tag. So now refresh the page. Okay, now it's fine, but there is no data. Why? because we are not sending any input parameter. In this exercise, only we are calling the flow using Aura component. So for now, also we can create the quick action for the account object. So I am going to create a quick action. Let's say we can select that lightning component. Our component name is create contact. I can name it create contact. Then save it. Go to the account, page layout, edit the account layout, and place that respective mobiles and lightning action create contact. Place there new contact. You can remove the new contact standard lightning action. Put there create contact. Save it. So we have placed the quick action in the respective page layout. Now refresh the account record. The create contact quick action now is available. Now click on create contact. The respective flow is invoked, but the message showing the flow is been finished. So for that, we need to send the input variables. Now how will you send the input variable? This is done. Embed screen from lightning Aura component, this is also done. Now how to send parameters from lightning Aura component to flow? So step 1, that is already we have completed, declare input variable in flow. So our input variable name is the record ID. Step 2, we just need to create a map called input variables. So in the input variables there are 3 attributes primarily. One is name, where we need to put that the input variable name. Second one is the type, where we need to put that the input variable type. And last one is the value, where we need to pass the respective value for the respective variable. So here we have to send the account ID, account record ID, right? And that input variable is nothing but the map. So you just need to pass the input variables in the start flow method after flow API name. Here just flow API name is contact creation. So after contact creation, we are passing the input variables. This is the map. If you want to send S object, so you have to declare that the type as S object. Okay. Okay. Now we go to the demo. How to send the input parameters. So here we need to declare, let's say var input variables. Name is to, so our input variable name is record ID, then type is to string, then value. So basically three attributes you need to declare. Value is that component dot get v.record ID. So this component dot get v.record ID actually will send the current instance, current records ID to the respective flow. This is that the Aura syntax we have to maintain in this way if we want to get the current record ID. And now in the next line we have to send the input variables. That's it. So we have declared the map and we are passing the input variables map. Let's see what happened. So we'll refresh the account record. Now click on create contact. So here you can see we have passed the account record ID. So in the first element, as you remember, the get account element is returning the account name, and then we are asking user to enter the first name, last name and the email. So let's assume that for now we can let's say John, last name is let's say Paul, and here you can say john.paul at the rate, let's say example.com. Okay, now click on next. So if I click on the related list of the account, you can see that the respective record has been created. So if I click on that the respective contact, you can see the account name, the respective account is being associated. That's why that the record is available in the related list of the account, and the email information is being picked up from the flow. So everything is working fine, but our requirement is that after contact record creation, we need to redirect to the contact record automatically. That is pending. So for that we need to learn how to get output variables from flow to lightning or a component. For that, step 1, declare output variable in the flow. So what is the output variable here in our use case? Our output variable should contain the contact record ID after creation of the contact record. Step 2, Salesforce has standard on status change method, in where you can operate the output variables and you can control the output variable as with respect to your business requirement. Remember, use lightning is to available for flow action interface to control flow's behavior at the design time. Let's go to the demo. First we need to update the flow. So this is our flow. Till now we have not declared any output variable. Now in this section, in this element, we have created the contact record, right? So just double click on this element or click on edit element. You have one option called manually assign variables. Just check the checkbox. Here the store contact ID in variable. That means when the contact record will be created, that contact record ID will store in the respective variable, and that variable we need to create. Click on new resource, select variable, API name you can say var contact record ID. Data type would be text, and here you have to select available for output. So that is the output variable which will contain the contact record ID after the creation. Done. So that variable is mapped to the assign variables. That's it. So after contact creation, the var contact record ID should contain the contact record ID. I need to save as, save, and activate. Okay. Now we need to update the lightning or a component. Here, just like in this slide, we need to call that the on status change method. So what I will do, status change equal to so this component is not needed here, but you can write. Okay. Now here what I will do, first when we need to redirect to the record at the time of finishing the event. That means we need to take that the event. So what I do that, get param status So in this way you can operate the post finish event whatever you want to. So if the event dot get param status is equal to finish, we can take the output variables. Let's say our output variables is equal to event, the same syntax here I write get param and then I can write then output. Okay. So now I will iterate the output variables. So let's assume that okay is equal to 0, I less than so in the output var I can select that the output var is equal to output variable I. Okay. Now if let's say what now that output var is containing the output variable name. So output var dot name equal to our output variable name is what we have given here, var contact record ID, right? So this is the output variable name. So just copy, select this, and then we will. So in this section already we got that the respective contact record ID when you will click on finish or the finish event. So in that way we got already in this step we got the record ID, contact record ID. Now we have to redirect using force navigate to edge object event. So for that we need to write, let's say var URL event is equal to $a.get, then e.force is to navigate to edge object. So this is the standard event from Salesforce. So you can this is required to redirect any record to the particular instance. So let's say then URL event dot set params. So here I need to pass the ID. So let's say here I can pass the record ID. Sorry, this is not. So here output var name is containing the output variable name, the value, the record ID, the output var dot value should contain the record ID. Sorry, and at last just we need to take the standard attribute called is redirect equal to true, and we need to fire this event. You can write that thing outside the loop also. Now trying to save this. What is that? Is redirect. This one. Okay. Okay, understood what happened. Now this is the correct. This I need to maintain the comma. Yeah. So now what I will do, I will go to that respective account record, refresh the account record once more. Okay, let's say create contact. So let's say now we are going to create the John last name Noah, email, let's say j dot next. The output var is not defined. Okay, no problem, we can check in our controller. This one. Yeah. Now I think it's right. Okay. For now, better I can delete that unused record. Let's say I can delete the John Pun here. Delete all the records there. Create contact, let's say error is coming. Do I need to refresh? Hold on. I have not refreshed the record, right? Maybe that is the reason. And I can delete this thing. Yeah. So after creation of the contact successfully, it will automatically redirect to the contact record. That is our goal. So we have achieved the business functionality. So in the last step, what we have done, first we have declared that the on status change, c.handle status change, we have declared that the method called handle status change. In that handle status change, first we have to take the event. So our event name is finish, because after finishing the event, we have to redirect the record, and using event.get param output variables, we will get all the output variable parameters. If the output variable name is equal to this is the output variable name. Using force.navigate to s object, we have redirect to the respective contact record using record ID and isDirect attribute. In this way, we have to redirect the record from flow to Aura redirect record from the screen flow using Aura component. So that we have seen how to get output variables from flow to lightning Aura component. Now we will see how to send list of records from lightning Aura component to flow. Currently only we have seen how to send the static value, just like we have sent the record ID of the account record to the respective flow. Now we will send, let's say, the contact records to the respective flow. So how will you do that? Definitely we have to declare input variables whose data type is record, and please remember to set the checkbox allow multiple values as collection. So as you remember, when we have created the record ID as input variable, we have not selected or we have not checked that allow multiple values. So here we need to check the checkbox allow multiple values collection. And after that, after completion of the flow, when you are sending the input variable using Aura component, you have to send in this way. Name would be the input variable name, here the contact list, type would be the s object, and value component.get v contacts. So for that, let's assume that our business use case is that to send the contact records to the respective flow. So definitely we have to create an Apex class. So you can create the Apex class from VS Code or from web or from developer console. For now I am going to create the Apex class from the developer console. So our Apex class name would be, let's say, contact controller. Okay. Now let's say I will declare enabled, sorry, because this Apex class I will call from Lightning Aura component, and let's public static list of contact get contacts. Okay. And let's say I can say that return select. So we are sending the first name, last name, email from contact object. For now we can select the limit 5. One thing is I would like to mention, you always need to put that the with security enforced, so that will control that the security behavior with respect to the end user, whoever is logging in. So it's security enforced. Now let's say catch. So we have created the contact controller. We have declared an Aura enable method called get contacts. Through this method we will get all the contacts with the first name, last name and email attributes. For now we are limiting to 5 records, and if any exception during the SQL, we will show the Aura handle exception. Now we will create, let's say, one new Lightning Aura component. So new Lightning component, let's say display contacts, Lightning record page, Lightning page select, it will be selected display contacts. So here what I will do, I need to declare first controller. Okay. So controller is that contact controller. Okay, before that already I have created one screen flow for you. You can just refer this flow, we can use the same flow. So this is the show contacts. So just for demo purpose, we are just showing the contact records with respect to the list of contacts. So here in this flow, this is the screen flow. What we have done, we have created an input variable. This is the contact list, just like the previous step. So in the input variable, we have created the contact list. We have selected most importantly, we have selected the data type as record, not the data type as text, and we have checked the checkbox allow multiple values collection, and object is the contact, and check the checkbox called available for input. So that means this contact list is the input variable which is containing the records of the contact. Okay, so don't forget to checkbox allow multiple values collection and available for input, as well as don't forget to select the data type as the record, because we are sending the list of records. Okay, so first step, we need to create the contact list as the input variable. Next, we are just looping the contact records. So just select the loop contacts, the same variable we have selected here, and we are iterating all the contacts from first item to last item, just like for loop in your Apex class. So here in the for loop, we are showing the each contact, let's assume that each contact last name. Okay, we can select that first name also. So let's say first name is to here loop contacts dot first name. Okay, and lastly we can select this email. So loop contact is nothing but the last element where we are just looping the contact records, contact list actually. Email. Just let the bold on. Yeah, that's it, done. Okay, and after last you can show the error message, you have iterated all contacts. That means you have covered all the contact records. So let's say save as, save and activate it. So again I am saying first we need to declare that the input variable as contact list where the data type is the record, and select the allow multiple values to collect the allow multiple values collection. And next we need to select the loop context element by which we can iterate each of the contact records, and we are picking up the individual contact and showing the contact details with first name, last name and email. Now what I'll do, I'll go to that view details and versions, because we need to invoke the flow here, right? So the same thing we'll do here. So here just I will copy from here, C 1 to V. This is not needed, so we are using the lightning flow tag. Now we will complete that the init method. So as we can use that the helper.js also, because we need to call that the respective apex method. So here I can write that correction is equal to component dot get. So what is our apex method name? Apex method name is that get contacts. So I can write down here c dot get contacts, because this is the method of the controller. Now we need to write, or we need to complete that the callback method. So set callback. Now, sorry, now what I need to do, if let's say why is coming here, if response dot get state if the if response dot get success, then we will set the respective contact records in the attribute. So for that, what we need to do, we just need to declare that the aura attribute here. So let's say we are declaring aura, sorry, is to attribute name is equal to, let's say, contacts. Type, you can say, I can write that contact, or a subject we can write here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we will see that component dot set v dot contacts, which is the input variable, and that response dot get return value. This is the list sending at least coming from the respective method of the Apex class. Now we will write the same syntax here, var flow. So I will select this one. So let's say name is equal to, it should be contact list. Our input variable in the flow is the contact list we have declared, right? So if I'll go to the flow, the contact list is the input variable. So we have to write the contact list, and type would be S object. Value would be here. Value would be component.get, because we have set the contacts. The value would be p.contacts. Now flow does start flow. Then we need to call the respective flow. Our flow name, the API name is show contacts. And we can write here else if there is no contact in the system will throw the exception, or we can see that the log. Okay, now at last we need to this one we have covered, right? Yeah. At last we need to call this particular action, because this is a set callback method. Five, display context controller line. What is the line number 5? Action dot what is the error? Okay. Yes, control line column parsing error, unexpected token. Okay. Okay. This is, I think. Yeah. Now we are able to save the code. So this is, in this way we are just calling the respective Apex method. We are taking all the contact records in the response.get return value, and we are setting that the contacts attribute, which is declared in that Aura component. Here we have declared the Aura attribute name is equal to contacts, and then we have just structured the input variable map. Name is the contact list, which is that input variable of the respective flow. Type would be as object, and value is the component.get v.contacts. So let's see. For now, we can create the one quick action on the account. Let's say new action. Lightning component, our component name is the display contacts. So here we can show contacts. Save. So we have created the quick action. Now we need to update the page layout. show contacts is coming here. So after create contact, we can place the show contacts. Save it. Okay, now I will go to the respective account records. Click on the show contacts. See, the system is working fine. So currently 5 contacts are being fetched by the Apex class, and Apex class is sending all those contact records to the Aura component to flow. To next, first name, last name, and the email is coming properly. Yeah, you have iterated all contacts. So in this way, we can send the input variables as a list to the respective Apex class. So just check this method for if you have any confusion. Okay, fine. Now let's go back to the slide. Now next is that how to resume flow from Lightning or a component. Basically, in flow you can pause the respective flow. We will discuss about that pausing the flow and how to resume the flow in detail in the next ongoing session. For now, we can understand that we can resume the flow using Aura component by calling this method resume flow, and then we need to pass the flow interview ID. Now what is the flow interview ID? The flow interview ID is nothing but that the ID of the post flow interview. Flow interview is the object. So here you can see how to get post flow interview ID. In the Apex class you need to write that SQL in this way: select ID from flow interview. Flow interview is the S object, where created by ID is equal to current user, that means the logged in user, and the interview label is the flow name, flow label name. Here just notice that we have not mentioned that the flow API name. So you need to mention that the flow label name, and current user is the logged in user ID. So in this way you will get the respective flow interview ID, post flow interview ID for the particular user, and that ID you need to pass in the resume flow. So when you will pass that the flow interview ID in the resume flow method, that flow will be resumed after invoking or after calling this method. Now the next question is big. Can we embed flow in Lightning Web Component? No, not possible till now. That is still in Idea Exchange. So currently we cannot embed flow in Lightning Web Component. However, we can call Lightning Web Component from the flow. We will see in the next ongoing session. Next is that some questions for you. The first question is that how to get output variables from flow to Lightning or a component using on status change function in Aura component, as we have discussed earlier. Next question is that can we send the list format as input variables to flow? No, it's always best practice to use the map to send the input variables to the flow. As we have seen that the input variables have three attributes: name, type, and value. Next, can we redirect a record created by flow from Lightning or a component? Yes, we can redirect a record created by flow from Lightning or a component. Fourth question is that can we invoke screen flow from Lightning Web Component? Till now, no, we cannot. However, we can call the Lightning Web Component from flow. We will see in the next ongoing session. The last question is that what is the S object name to get the flow interview ID? The object name is that flow interview. Okay. Next is the exercise for you. Please read out this exercise and please let me know if you will have any difficulty to complete this exercise. The exercise is that create the case record with the following fields from the utility bar. The fields are priority status, case origin, case subject, and case description. The requirement is that if the priority of the case record is high, then create the case record with other high priority account, else create the case record with different account. So after creation of the case record, system should redirect to the case record, and after redirection of the case record, system will show the respective account details with name, account number and phone in the right side of the case record page. Please let me know if you have any difficulty, and please try to complete this exercise by lining Aura component and the screen flow. That's it for today. Thank you. Thanks for joining my session. You can reach my LinkedIn profile as well as my email, as well as my Gmail account or and my website. And at last, please subscribe my channel. Thank you.